pretty safe to assume that whenever you say the name Slash, the one thing that's most popularly attached to that name is Guns N' Roses. No matter the fact that Guns N' Roses with Slash have been apart now for about, 20 years or so, doesn't matter. It's what he's best known for. He's best known as the guitarist of Guns N' Roses, even though he's done Slash's Snake Pit ever since then, even though he's done Velvet Revolver along with Scott Weiland, which really brought him back into the spotlight in the 2000s. However, Scott Weiland happens to be Scott Weiland, who happens to really, really like heroin. So yeah, Velvet Revolver eventually folded, and now he's doing something a little bit more intimate of the solo variety. Something that just had his name on it. Now, a lot of people probably thought that he was going to be singing and doing a lot of the other aspects of this album, aside from just playing the guitar, or maybe if he was just playing the guitar, it would be purely instrumental. Instead, the very first album that he put out had a round table of vocalists, and the one that really seemed to stick, the one that seemed to make the most sense, was Myles Kennedy from Alter Bridge. So, Myles Kennedy, along with a couple of other conspirators, have come on board for what is now Slash's third solo record, which is entitled World on Fire. The funny part about that introduction is the fact that it plays a big role whenever it comes to this album. This is a pretty lengthy affair. There's 17 tracks on it, but let me tell you, this is something that really doesn't feel out of place. It feels not like Slash was unable to part with certain songs that maybe were a little bit weaker than the others, but it's instead the fact that this is a strong, tough-nosed rocker. This is one that has a lot of balance to it. It's able to really query the 3-minute songs and balance them out nicely with ones of a little bit more length. And I will say, like so often is true, whenever songs are able to get a little bit lengthier, that's whenever artists such as Slash or artists such as, even Guns N' Roses are really able to open things up, and it gives you a little bit more room to breathe as a musician. Although if you do it all the time, then it becomes just as, kind of droll and simple-minded as having nothing but 3-minute tracks for 12 tracks of an album and, slapping it together and calling a 38-minute album a record without variety. This is one that definitely is able to offer that balance and offer it very, very well, but it feels a lot like whenever Slash was writing a lot of these licks, whenever he was writing some of the bodies and the frameworks of these songs, that he was writing for a Guns N' Roses record. Now, his trademark sound has always been kind of a part of all of his work post Guns N' Roses. Even in Velvet Revolver, you could really hear a strong tone of Guns N' Roses with all of his guitar work. Now, maybe the body of some of these songs didn't really bear the same resemblance. It was a heavier texture, but it had the ability to kind of change things up a little bit. This was just something where Slash has a trademark tone, a trademark sound, a trademark, hum to his guitar that just immediately draws people to make that Guns N' Roses, comparison. The difference with World on Fire is that a couple of these feel almost as though they're modulations of riffs from Guns N' Roses songs, such as, Mr. Brownstone. It's something that's just maybe a quick little note, something that's maybe just somebody who's listened to a lot of the Guns N' Roses and the Slash catalog kind of making a strange, weird assumption, and in no way, shape, or form am I implying that Slash is out of ideas, and he's really having to rehash some of his old G&R days and G&R riffs in order to write music for a solo album. Quite the opposite, in fact. I'm actually mentioning this because it's almost as though it's a message that's being sent, saying that these are riffs that easily could be for a Guns N' Roses record. These are riffs that Guns N' Roses could use. These are riffs that, hi Axl, how you doing? Guns N' Roses. But I don't need you. I don't really know the status of Axl and Slash. I assume it's meh. I assume it's just kind of, we know that we both exist. There you fucking go. I've heard rumors forever that they're trying to get back together and piece something together, and maybe we'll have a Guns N' Roses reunion. But I also know that it's Slash and fucking Axl Rose. This album sounds like a bold statement to me from Slash saying, I am here with Myles Kennedy and a couple of other folks. We're just jamming in a studio, having a good time, kind of like what we used to do, Axl. And the result is pure magic. The result is actually really, really cool. Axl Rose's voice may have a little bit more of a dynamic range than Myles Kennedy's does, But that is really, really close, and pure opinions, pure speculation. There are going to be those diehard Axl Rose fans that will always say that Axl's voice is tops. But Myles, damn. He's almost like a modern-day version of Axl Rose in the way that he has such a dynamic range, but at the same time, also just has so much emotional feeling that's attached to these songs. Strangely enough, one of the best songs on this record doesn't actually feature Myles Kennedy, which seems like a crime, because his vocal performance on this song really accentuates all of Slash's best moments of writing, and the combination together actually brings forth really, really damn good rock and roll. It's actually Safari Inn, which is the second to last track, track 16, which is just a instrumental that really kind of strikes you. It really comes off as just an awesome, awesome studio expedition that they decided to keep onto the record, that you almost wish they would have lengthened a little bit. You almost wish there would have been more to it. It almost feels like Safari Inn is meant to be a track that, when played live, if Slash wants to deviate, if Slash wants to just go on a tangent for 12 to 15 minutes, now you have an opportunity. Now you have the ability to do that. It's almost like Dark Star by the Grateful Dead. This is a track that spans about 2, maybe 2.5 minutes, but whenever you got into the live environment, the live versions of this track could go 20, 30, even 40 minutes. It's just the way in which the songs are constructed. Whenever they're in the studio, they're kind of basic. They have a great vibe to them and a great overall body, but whenever you get into the live setting, there's deviation points. There's easy places where you can infuse other aspects of music, some pure randomness and some pure improvisation into it, and create something that's almost legendary. And that's exactly what Dark Star is in the lore of Grateful Dead fans. It's a legendary track that, if you happen to hear it live at a Grateful Dead concert, it was an event. The best songs on this album are the ones that really push the boundaries of time. The ones that eclipse the 6-minute mark. Battleground is one that definitely comes to mind. Those are the songs that showcase why Slash still has the prowess of writing just damn good music. It's in the ability of Slash to work with his co-conspirators on this project in order to really take the time to feel things out, to really give it an emotional address as opposed to just a heavy address, as opposed to just giving it the address of how this guitar is going to sound here, or if this is going to sound neat or brutal or heavy. This is instead one where the resonance has more to do with the subject matter. It's something that combines all of those elements really, really nicely. There are tracks on here that have a lot more of a hard rock property to them, which is why many people will probably draw a lot of Guns N' Roses conclusions and similarities. But at the same time, there's a lot of just real individual aspects that kind of push this apart. It actually gives Slash a lot more kind of to boast about. It gives him a little bit more of a chip that's in his favor as opposed to Axl Rose, considering Axl Rose's last release, Chinese Democracy, sucked. It was bad. I hated it. But that's just me. World on Fire strikes me as an album from a guy that, if he wanted to make this album to make a statement, then he fucking did it. He really accomplished that mission. But that's not exactly how it feels. This statement album feels like it was brewed from fun in the studio. It was brewed from just a couple of guys coming together to make music and create some magic along the way. And that's exactly what you have. You have Myles Kennedy's voice shining through, doing just what it does, what makes Alter Bridge such a powerful band. And think of how lucky Myles Kennedy fucking is. He gets to work with Slash on this project, and then he gets to go home to Alter Bridge and work with Mark Tremonti, who's a beast as well. The guy is living the life. You have Slash, who's being Slash. You absolutely need not provide any sort of adjective or fluffy description to what Slash does. He sits over there with a big hat, cigarette in his mouth, sunglasses on, and plays a guitar. It's not that difficult. You don't have to read between the lines. And they just poop out magic. It's so funny how it works. But it definitely, definitely works well. It's a lot of fun. This is a record I highly recommend. This is one that I definitely, definitely tell you to pick up. This is an 84 out of 100. I feel that 17 tracks is a bit much. It can be a little over excessive. it can sometimes overstay its welcome. But the variety that's positioned on this album will really keep you roped in. It may be a real hard one-sit album, but once you get to all of it and kind of digest them in those spurts, however that you listen to music, you're going to have tracks that you go back to. You're going to have tracks that you return to all the time. There are going to be ones that stick in your head. There's going to be ones where you'll be somewhere else and you're rushing to go home, or you're rushing to get to your car, wherever you have this album available, because you want to listen to that track, because it won't escape your skull. And that's what good rock music is all about. And Slash gets that. And Slash gave us that.